Undercover boss orders breakfast at his own restaurant, freezes when waitress whispers about missing tips. I worked 3 double shifts this week, served more tables than anyone, and my take-home tips were $50. That can't be right. Ryan barely touches a table and walks away with $200 every Friday. The man in the corner booth didn't flinch, but behind his glasses, his heart began to race. Like and subscribe if you believe every worker deserves a fair wage. Because in this story, justice doesn't just come from the top. It walks through the front door in a flannel shirt and trucker cap. Sunrise Diner 28 sat on a busy intersection in Columbus, Ohio, one of 40 such restaurants in the regional chain known for its all-day breakfasts and small-town warmth. But that morning, the warmth felt performative. The smell of sizzling bacon and buttermilk pancakes was there. The coffee was hot. The waitresses wore smiles, but something wasn't right. Derek Langston felt at the moment he stepped through the glass door. Not as CEO of Sunrise Restaurant Group, but as Dan Miller, a supposed retired trucker in town visiting his daughter. He wore scuffed jeans, an old flannel, and a trucker cap pulled low over salt and pepper hair. The glasses weren't prescription, just for effect. The limp in his left knee was real courtesy of an old fall in his own restaurant kitchen 20 years back. He hadn't been Derek since he left headquarters in Indianapolis 3 days ago. For now, he was Dan, just another early morning regular. A hostess led him to a booth in the far corner of the diner. Table 9. It had a clear view of the register, the server station, and, crucially, the kitchen door where the staff disappeared and re-emerged. Derek took mental notes the way other people read menus. The staff moved mechanically, efficient but joyless. No small talk between tables. No jokes near the coffee machine. Eyes tired. Shoulders slumped. The waitress assigned to him was Cassie Thompson. Late 20s, hair pulled back tight, shoes worn to the sole. But she moved with rhythm. Not rushed, not lazy. Just determined. She offered a warm smile as she poured his coffee. "Good morning, sweetheart. You want to hear the specials, or just go for the sunrise special like a pro?" Derek chuckled. "You got me pegged already." Cassie had that spark, the kind that used to define the Sunrise brand. Authentic, grounded, grateful. But Derek had seen something shift in recent months. Higher turnover. Strange reports about missed shifts and payroll issues. And then there were the reviews. Not just from customers, but from Glassdoor. Indeed, places where employees aired real grievances. Cassie returned with his breakfast perfectly cooked, down to the over-medium yolks. She topped off his coffee again, without asking. Derek took his first bite and was about to compliment the kitchen when he caught something low voices near the server station. $50 for the whole damn week. That doesn't make sense. I know. Ryan's not even on the floor. Doug's cooking the numbers again. Derek stilled his hand, pretended to wipe his mouth, kept chewing slowly. Cassie's voice. The other voice didn't recognize. Doug. The name rang loud. Doug Henderson had been promoted to manager of Diner 28 just under a year ago. On paper, he looked stellar. Reports clean. Numbers stable. Low food waste. High retention. And yet here was his lead waitress all but whispering about a tip split gone wrong. Derek took out his notepad, pretending to jot down a trucking route. What he wrote instead: Doug, tip manipulation. Check POS reports. When Cassie came back around, Derek smiled gently. Been working long today? Cassie nodded. Since 5. Last out of 3. Double shifts all week. And you still smiling? You must really love this place. She hesitated just half a second. Then the smile returned, fainter this time. I love what it used to be, she said softly. Before the tips started disappearing. Derek leaned forward slightly. That right? How's that happen? Cassie glanced over her shoulder. Her voice dropped. We're supposed to pool digital tips. Everyone gets a share, right? But Doug only lets certain people sign into the POS. The rest of us? We get whatever's left in a box. And it never adds up. There it was. Derek's heart pounded against his ribs. He smiled, nodded, and said nothing more. By the time his plate was clean, he had all the intel he needed for today. He paid in cash, tipped Cassie $40, and left a note beneath his mug. You're seen. Keep doing good work. A friend. He walked out the diner into the cold Ohio morning, his hands trembling not from age or caffeine but from the rage he hadn't expected to feel so quickly. Dawn, it's me. Quiet line. Yes, sir. I need you to pull the last 90 days of POS logs from Diner 28. Look for staff login inconsistencies, especially during breakfast and lunch shifts. Something's off. Got it. Anything else? Yeah, Derek said, staring back at the glass door where Cassie stood smiling at another customer. I think we're about to find something big. You say you're looking for part-time dishwashing work. Yeah, retired driver. Fixed rigs for 30 years. Ain't scared of grease. Doug smirked, tossed him an apron, and said, You start today. Don't blink. Because what Derek Langston saw from behind the dish station would uncover more than just missing tips. It would shake the foundation of his company. 2 days after his breakfast visit, Derek returned to Sunrise Diner 28. This time, he entered through the back. He carried a crumpled printout from Craigslist in his hand, showing a fake job listing Dawn had helped him post under the alias Dan Miller. Dishwasher. Flexible hours. Available immediately. Doug was short-staffed. The ad had only been up an hour before the call came. You Dan? Doug asked, poking his head out of the manager's office near the kitchen. Derek nodded. Yep. Still got the calluses to prove it. Doug chuckled, his eyes scanning Derek's frame like a butcher choosing cuts. You're older than I thought. Older than most. Younger than some, Derek replied. But I don't take smoke breaks. That counts for something. Doug like that. Toss him an apron without even checking ID. You start now. Clock him back there. Miguel will show you the ropes. Miguel was in his early 30s, eyes weary but kind. He said little as he showed Derek the dish pit, the bucket mop routine, and where to toss grease trays. Derek worked quietly, efficiently, asking just enough questions to keep his cover intact. From back there, he could see the kitchen line, the server station, the register, and more importantly, the POS system. 3 hours in, Doug pulled Ryan, his 22-year-old nephew, into the office. Ryan's on register, Miguel muttered. Always is. Derek nodded. Miguel hesitative. Depends who's asking. After the lunch rush, Derek took his break and used it to walk past the storage room near the back office. There was no camera, but there was a second laptop smaller than the front POS plugged into the corner with an off-brand card reader. He heard Ryan's voice before he saw anything. Okay, so I split Monday's lunch tips. Sent 30% to guest profile K. Jenkins same one from last week. Doug's voice came next, low and steady. Good. Don't go over 30 or accounting will start asking questions. Leave the rest under shared pool. I'll verify it during close. Derek froze. K. Jenkins wasn't real. He had full access to the company's back-end systems. Guest profiles for employee logs were only used during onboarding or terminated status. But when paired with tip records, they were ripe for fraud. He returned to the dish pit, shaken. Miguel looked at him oddly. You good, old man? Just that déjà vu, Derek muttered. Heard that kind of hustle before. Never ends well. Miguel leaned in. You're not wrong. Cassie's been raising hell about it for months. That's why she got the bad shifts. Me too, actually. Derek looked him straight in the eye. You ever think about talking to corporate? Miguel barkta halolaf. You kidding? Doug's buddy is the regional guy. Stan. They go fishing. Complaints disappear. Derek made a note. Dolk istan. Confirm collusion risk. Flag POS ghost profiles. He finished his shift. Refused the free leftover sandwich Doug offered. That night, Dawn emailed him the POS activity log from the past month. Ryan's login appeared 67% of the time during digital tip transactions, despite only being scheduled for 40% of shifts. 5 guest profiles have been reactivated during his lodge, all of them inactive or training only. Estimated skimming, $6,000 in 30 days. Derek leaned back in his motel bed, the soft hum of a box fan drowning his thoughts. He called Dawn. Tell the legal team to prep a statement. But don't send anything yet. You want to move now? No, Derek said. I want to see how much deeper it goes. He paused. And I want to talk to Cassie. Directly. Tomorrow. The next morning, Cassie was already working by the time Derek clocked in. She looked tired. More than tired, diminished. But she still smiled at customers. Still poured perfect cups of coffee and remembered 3 orders by heart. During the mid-morning lull, Derek found her near the mop sink. Cassie, he said quietly, do you trust me for 10 minutes? She hesitated, looked around, then nodded. Derek pulled her aside into the utility closet. Not ideal, but private. My name's not Dan, he began. Cassie flinched. Wait, what? He reached into his shirt pocket and handed her a business card. Embossed. Simple. Derek Langston, CEO, Sunrise Restaurant Group. She stared at it like it might vanish. This is a joke. Derek shook his head. I heard what you said about I came to see it myself. You were right. Her eyes filled with something between fear and vindication. I tried reporting it. I emailed HR twice. The regional guy Stanover responded. I know. I think Stan's in on it. Cassie covered her mouth. Cassie, Derek said gently, I'm not just going to fire them. I'm going to burn this down and rebuild it better. She breathed in sharply. They're going to deny everything. Then I'll need your help. And Miguel's. And anyone else who's seen it. Cassie looked at him, not as a CEO, but as a man trying to right a wrong. I'll talk, she said. Whatever you need. Just promise me to promote Ryan to manager when Doug's gone. That's all he's hoping for. Derek smiled, but there was nothing light about it. Cassie, he said, by the end of this week, Ryan won't be employed. And Doug? He'll wish he'd stuck to the register. Back at the corporate headquarters in Indianapolis, the numbers told one story. Profits, steady. Turnover, slightly high. Operational cost, up by 12%. Customer satisfaction, mixed. Digital tip revenue, lower than average. All of that had made Derek curious. But what Dawn, his auditor, uncovered made him furious. Through the company's back-end POS access, Dawn had identified 5 inactive employee profiles that had been mysteriously reactivated on days when Ryan was logged in. These profiles were labeled as Training K, Jenkins Floater 12, and one simply called Temp S. None of these people existed, but they all received a percentage of the pooled digital tips between 2,535%, siphoned out automatically during shifts when Ryan controlled the login. Worst Doug approved all final shift summaries. Ghost tipping, Dawn called it. Slicker than cash skimming. Almost impossible to catch if you're only reading the weekly summary reports. They were stealing from their own team. Cassie, Miguel, even the kid who worked weekends to pay for community college. It was Thursday when Derek walked into the diner, again not as Dan this time. He wore a pressed gray suit, silver tie, clean-shaven. His Sunrise name badge gleamed. The air in the diner shifted. Cassie's eyes widened. Miguel froze mid-wipe on a counter. Even a fry cook looked confused. Doug came out from the office, clearly annoyed. Can I help? Then his mouth went dry. Derek gave a small nod. Good morning, Mr. Henderson. I believe you, and I have some business to discuss. He turned to the diners. Folks, I'm going to ask for a brief pause in service. Your meals are on the house this morning. Coffee's fresh, and we'll be right back. Polite applause. Then Derek turned, walked past Doug, and into the office. Ryan was sitting at the computer. He looked up, smirked. You the new regional guy, or something? Derek didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his leather briefcase and pulled out a printed report. It was thick. Ryan, you might want to take a look at these. They're transaction logs. Every tip you've diverted in the last 3 months using ghost profiles. Ryan laughed, then stopped, because his name was everywhere in the log, every keystroke, every unauthorized reactivation. Doug stepped forward, face red. This is a misunderstanding. No, though. A misunderstanding is when a decimal is in the wrong place. What you've done is fraud. Derek's voice was calm, almost unnaturally so. I have screenshots of every unauthorized login, audio recordings of the two of you discussing tip skimming, and full cooperation from 2 employees who've been documenting your pattern. Ryan stood up suddenly. This is bull. Sit down, Derek said without raising his voice. And Ryan sat. At 10:12 a.m., 3 unmarked sedans pulled into the parking lot. 2 men and a woman stepped out in jackets that didn't say FBI, but didn't need to. They introduced themselves to Derek with quiet precision. Dawn had passed along the files. When they entered the office, Ryan's face turned to chalk. Doug tried to bluster. You can't do this. You have no right. But the woman from the DOJ merely lifted a USB stick and said, this contains the full audit trail. You can tell it to your lawyer. Within 15 minutes, Doug and Ryan were escorted out. The diner had gone dead quiet. Cassie stood near the front counter, Miguel beside her. Derek stepped out. He took a breath. My name is Derek Langston, he said, voice steady. I'm the founder and CEO of Sunrise Restaurant Group, a collective inhale. I came here undercover because I heard rumors that our team members, our family, were being taken advantage of. He paused, looked around. I came here to eat pancakes, and I found a parasite. He walked to the center of the diner. I want to say something to the staff, especially those of you who've been working doubles, watching your tips vanish and wondering why. He looked at Cassie. You deserve better. Starting today, you will get it. That afternoon, Derek hosted a full staff meeting in the now quiet diner. He had something to unveil. Sunrise Fair Tip, a new digital system built with real-time transparency. Every employee could now log in from their phone and see exactly how much was being tipped and how it was distributed live by the hour. No more pooled tips routed through managers. No more ghosts. No more silence. Cassie was promoted on the spot to acting general manager. Miguel was placed in charge of staff onboarding and peer training. 2 new posters went up near the time clock that day. Whistleblower protection, hotline direct to corporate. No favoritism. No theft. No excuses. Sunrise employee creed. That evening, Cassie walked up to Derek as he sat alone in booth 9. Is this real? She asked. Or is it just a cleanup PR stunt? Derek looked her in the eyes. It's real, and it's long overdue. She pulled something from her apron pocket. A faded note. She unfolded it and set it on the table. You're seen. Keep doing good work. A friend. I found this under your coffee cup the first day you came in, she said. I didn't know if I imagined it. Derek smiled softly. Sunrise Diner 28 had never been quieter than it was the next morning. It was Friday, normally the busiest day of the week. But after what happened on Thursday, some customers stayed away. The ones who came were quiet, curious, careful. Derek sat at the counter with a coffee he'd poured himself. He wasn't undercover anymore. His suit was gone. He wore a Sunrise polo, same as the staff, with one difference. His had no title. Cassie approached with a clipboard, the new shift schedule tucked under her arm. You okay with helping set up the patio seating Dan, she teased. Derek grinned. You're the boss now. She didn't smile back. That's what scares me. They made all the right moves. Doug and Ryan were terminated and formally charged with employee theft and digital fraud. Stan, the regional manager, was suspended pending investigation into negligence and conflict of interest. Sunrise Fair Tip was launched system-wide that morning. A third-party audit was being sent to every diner in the region within 30 days. Corporate praised Derek's hands-on courage, but that wasn't what he felt. He felt regret. He hadn't stepped into a diner in person in nearly 8 months. He used to do it every week. Somewhere along the way, he'd let spreadsheets replace people. Never again, he muttered to himself. Cassie sat with him after the mid-morning rush. Can I be honest? She asked. Derek nodded. I don't feel like celebrating. You don't have to, he said. She looked away. We worked so hard, and all that time, someone was just stealing from us. Her voice cracked. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. And I feel so damn angry that I started to doubt myself. Derek didn't try to give her a speech. He just let her be angry. Do you know how long I've been counting every dollar to see if I could go back to school? She asked. I do now, he said quietly. Cassie's eyes softened. You think they'll actually go to jail? Derek shook his head. Probably not long. It's white-collar crime. But they'll never work in restaurants again. Cassie traced her finger along the edge of the counter. Well, I'm staying, she said. For now. I want to see if this place can actually become what you promised it was. Later that afternoon, Miguel pulled Derek aside. You remember that kid who used to work weekends? He asked. The one with the glasses and the mop that never quit? Derek said, Yeah, Jesse. Miguel handed over a small envelope. He left this when he quit 2 weeks ago. Said, give this to the owner if he ever shows up. I forgot. Saw the... Derek opened it. Inside was a note scrawled in blue ink. I love this place, but it's not fair anymore. I don't want to work where being honest gets you punished. I hope someday it's better. Until then, I'll be delivering pizzas. Underneath was a $5 bill and a smiley face. Derek folded the letter carefully and tucked it into his wallet. That night, Derek and Cassie sat on the curb outside the diner, each holding a paper plate of fries and grilled cheese sandwiches. It was the first meal Derek had eaten all day. You know, Cassie said between bites, this is the first Friday in months that I don't feel watched, or judged, or worried someone's going to pull me into a back office for asking a question. Derek nodded, chewing slowly. You built something that mattered, Derek, she added. Then you left it in the wrong hands. I know, he said. But I'm taking it back now. By Sunday, word had spread. A customer posted a viral TikTok describing how some old guy came in and exposed the Sunrise manager for stealing everyone's tips. It had over 1.2 million views in 48 hours. The caption read, Support restaurants that support their staff. I'm eating here every week now. The next morning, there was a line outside the door before 7 a.m. Not for pancakes, not even for coffee, but for trust. Near the end of that day, Cassie brought out a tray of biscuits and gravy for table 5. A middle-aged man in a suit asked her something softly. She pointed toward Derek. He came over. Are you the owner? The man asked. Yes, sir. The man stood up and extended his hand. My daughter worked here last year. Said it was the hardest job she'd ever loved. She cried when she quit because she couldn't stand how unfair it had become. Derek swallowed. She called me this morning, the man continued. Said she saw the story online. Said you made it right. I'm trying, Derek said. She also said she wants to reapply, the man added with a chuckle. I told her I'd come try the food first. Derek smiled. Well, let me know how the gravy is. It's the one thing we've never changed. Later that night, Cassie and Miguel locked up together. Derek waited outside as they flipped the sign to closed. You heading out? Cassie asked. Derek looked at the parking lot. He had no real home in the city. He'd been living in a motel for a week. Eventually, he said. Cassie hesitated. You want to come by my apartment? We're doing a late-night poker game. Just quarters. But it's staff only. Derek grinned. I appreciate the invite, but I'm not staff anymore. She smiled. You're still family. And we don't let family eat alone. That night, Derek sat on a second-hand couch between a cook named Gina and a host named Tom. He lost $6.75, but won something else entirely. When Cassie passed him a cold beer and smiled, felt something loosen inside his chest. Not relief. Not pride. Something quieter. Peace. You build a chain of diners, Mr. Langston. But somewhere along the way, I forgot the chain's only as strong as the people holding it together. Cassie nodded, smiling as she poured 2 coffees. Well, let's start fixing the links. The sun rises again, but only when someone stays up through the night to make sure it does. 1 month later, Sunrise Diner 28 was almost unrecognizable. Not because of new paint or marketing or a social media facelift, but because of how it felt. The laughter came easier. The coffee stayed full. The regulars knew Cassie by name, and even the new hostess, Angela, had a confidence in her step that hadn't been there before. The kitchen ran smooth. Miguel had taken over ordering and scheduling. No one was skipping shifts anymore. And on the wall near the register, a new sign read, "Every dollar counts. Every employee matters. Every tip tracked, verified, and shared fairly." Below it, in small script, "Established by people who stayed when others took." Derek came by once a week now. Not undercover. Not in a suit. Just Derek. He usually sat in booth 9. Brought his laptop. Did admin work. Reviewed audits. Sipped black coffee. And watched. Watched people get better. Watched the culture rebuild itself from within. One Friday afternoon, a young man in a chef's jacket approached his booth. "Mr. Langston," he asked. "You probably don't remember me." Derek looked up, squinted. "You're Jesse." The young man grinned. "Yeah, the pizza delivery guy who left $5 in an envelope." Derek stood up and shook his hand. "You came back. I saw the videos. The article. Then Cassie called. She said the place was different now. Said you came back." Jesse took a breath. "I want in. Not just the staff. I want to learn how to run one of these places." "Right." Derek smiled. "You just made my day." Later that evening, Derek called an all-staff meeting. Not just for Diner 28, but every location in a 100-mile radius. Over 50 employees crowded into the reopened patio space, folding chairs in rows, coffee and donuts passed hand to hand. He stood on a wooden crate with a portable mic. "Some of you know who I am. Some don't. I'm the guy who started this company with 1 diner and a borrowed waffle iron." A few chuckles. "I built Sunrise to be about more than breakfast. It was supposed to be about fairness, about community, about giving people a place to work where they'd be respected." He paused, and then I stopped showing up. The crowd quieted. I let data blind me. I let people I trusted betray your trust. I let my own success insulate me from your struggles. He looked out over the sea of faces. Old, young, Hispanic, black, white, all wearing Sunrise name tags. "But that ends now." He held up a small, laminated card. "This is our new code of honor. It's not legalese. It's a promise." He read aloud. "We show up on time. We split what's earned fairly. We protect one another. And we tell the truth, especially when it's hard. Because pancakes can't fix broken systems. But people can." After the meeting, a soft-spoken busser approached him. Her name was Riley. She was 17. First job. Pink streaks in her hair and quiet eyes. "I've never had a boss say sorry before," she said. Derek kneeled a little to meet her gaze. "Neither have I, but I think I'm going to say it more often now." She nodded. Okay, then I'll stay. A week later, the diner held a special event. The sidewalk outside was blocked off. String lights were strung from lampposts to the building's awning. A banner read, Grand RE Opening, the new Sunrise Diner 28. Now fairer, brighter, better. Derek stood beside Cassie as they prepared to cut a bright yellow ribbon with oversized scissors. A local journalist snapped photos. A high school band played something cheerful. Cassie turned to him, her manager's badge shining in the morning sun. "You nervous?" she asked. "I'm always nervous when we serve biscuits to media people," he joked. Cassie laughed. "You didn't just fix a diner, she said. You reminded people they matter." Then she held up a to-go cup of black coffee. "One last time." He smiled. "Black. No cream. Just like the first morning you served me back when you thought I was a retired trucker." They clinked paper cups. Scissors clicked. Ribbon fell. Applause roared. And the doors of Sunrise Diner 28 opened again, not just to customers, but to hope. Late evening. Diner is closed. Empty booths. Silence. Cassie locks up. Miguel flicks off the kitchen lights. Derek stays behind, sitting alone at table 9. Just for a moment. He sets down a note. Same kind he left weeks ago. "If you're reading this, it's because you care. Keep going. Don't stop asking questions. The future of this place? It's sitting in your hands now." He folds the note. Leaves a tip. Walks out into the dawn. The sign above the door flickers for a second, then steadies. The word Sunrise glows bright. Fade to black. Thank you for staying until the very last coffee refill. If this story moved you, please hit like, leave a comment about someone who deserves better, and subscribe for more true stories that change more than just policies. They change lives.